Hi peeps, it's Tersse back on the old squat box once again, and I'm trying to make a heartfelt video to NRA members and gun owners in America. Look at me. Do I look like I'm trying to take your guns away from you? Do I look like I am against people having the freedom to live their lives the way they want to live them? Look at me. Shit. I live my life the way I fucking want to. And damn the government and fuck the fucking local council. You know, so I live my life, and if they throw regulation against me, I'll fight against it. I understand that. But I've got to say to you, if you think you need automatic fucking rifles like the Bushmaster, if you think you need semi-automatic pistols, 2 or 3 of them, who made you think like that? I know people tell you you've got to have a gun in your house to protect your household. I totally understand that, and I agree with you. In America, that is a concern. To have a gun in the house in case someone attacks your house. But please, can you name a time in the last 100 years, right, when it's been reported that somebody's house was attacked and they had to use their gun to protect themselves, who wasn't a drug dealer or some other person involved with the mafia, or some organised criminal organisation, and therefore they were targeted either by the police or by the organisation they were working for in the first place, or by some of their friends who thought they had stolen money from them and hadn't, divvied their money up. I mean, if you're an ordinary, normal citizen, do you remember any time in the last 100 years an ordinary, normal citizen in America has had to defend himself against a house invasion? I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about that. Go look it up. Normal American citizen sitting in his house, just got home from the ball game, tucking his kids into bed, isn't involved with the mafia, isn't involved with, any crime organisation, a normal American citizen ever needed to defend himself from a house invasion. Go look it up. Google it. Look up all the fucking, shit you're going to find on the internet about, what people think. Just give me one instance. Go on, I hope you get on your computer, run down to your local library. I don't know if you've got a couple of minutes, so, but if you're on the internet, watch me, Google it, look it up. Any ordinary, normal citizen had to use guns to defend themselves against a house invasion in the last 100 years. I'm not saying it's zero. Because there has been some house invasion. There have been some crazy motherfuckers out there with guns invading people to steal shit from them. But how many times has it happened in the last 100 years? Right. So if you come up with the answer that it's been more than 100, you're wrong. If you come up with the answer that it's been less than 10, you're wrong. There has been a few cases over the last 100 years where people have been invaded by people trying to steal their shit. But you know what? Over 50% of the people who were invaded, house invaded, didn't have any guns in the house. And they actually fared better than the people who did have guns. Suffice it to say, having a gun in your house, if someone breaks into your house to steal your shit, normally turns out to be bad. It normally turns out to be the case, like the police tell you. Somebody kicks your door in and says, give me your TV set. You say, take the TV set. I'm not interested. Take it. It's insured. And leave it at that. When you start to struggle for fucking guns to try and shoot them, unfortunately what happens is you end up with some of your members of your family dead. Often you as well. And the police end up talking to your widow or your orphaned children. Owning a gun to defend yourself in your home, even in America, is a pretty bad idea. Often, you're better just saying, I don't care what you hear if I take it. That's ordinary citizens, people who have kilos of cocaine hidden away, or opium or morphine or ecstasy or hidden guns, Yeah, that tends to be other mobsters stealing it off of other mobsters. Not the same thing. There's not a good record of ordinary citizens using guns to defend themselves against people who attack their homes. As I said, it's often better for you just to turn around and say, okay, hands up, keys, take the shit you want and fuck off and leave us alive, please. That's normally the best solution to a house invasion problem. So, why do Americans think it's an imperative idea that every man should have a gun to protect his home, when actually having a gun to protect your home actually puts your home at a greater risk than not having a gun? I really don't know. My God, could it be that all the shit you see on TV and all the crap that other fucking people who own guns tell you, is it possible that there's a certain amount of brainwashing and a certain amount of fake information, propaganda is being used there to twist and change the topic that we're talking about, which is safety. Safety. You know what I mean? A gun is not about safety. A gun is about doing damage to another human being. If you want safety, then basically you live in a country that doesn't have guns. I'm just saying. Having guns actually puts you at a greater risk than not having guns. That is the absolute fact of the matter. So I think America needs to completely rethink the Second Amendment as it applies to the common man in America, the common household. You need to rethink the idea of the Second Amendment. I do not think that it meant that every single person in America should own a gun and be ready to fire it at any fucking second of the day. That's how the crazy, gun-loving, psychopathic shoot anything that moves, motherfuckers think, you know what I mean? And also a huge amount of your House and Senate who believe that we can't shut down the gun manufacturing factories because they're a huge, gigantic sort of like a cash cow for them. Now let's face it, the companies that make guns need people to buy guns. You won't buy a gun if you're not scared that someone else has got a gun, so they make sure that you know that lots of other people have got guns, and it's probably going to be something you're going to, encounter in your life is someone pointing a gun at you. But here's another statistic. 86% of the people in America never ever have a gun shoved in their face. Yeah, 86%. Never have a gun shoved in the face. Why is that? Because although there's hundreds of millions of guns in America, very few people actually live in the areas where there's lots of illegal guns. And most people find that if it's not the authorities sticking a gun in their face, which is rare compared to some gangster, illegal criminal, illegal gun owner sticking a gun in their face. This is the problem. I think it's something like 8 or 9% of the gun owners, or gun possessors, not gun owners because they don't actually own a lot of the gun, but it's about 8 or 9% of the gun possessors in America actually do about 70 or somewhere around about that of the gun violence. That's I should really have collated this and made links, but I'm very, very drunk, as I usually am. This is stuff you can find if you just look up on the internet. So, anyway, right, those are general figures. They're not sort of the statistical figures for this year. They're general figures over the last sort of, I think it was the last 20. I should have kept the links to these sites. Yeah, but over the last 20 years, so these are the figures. So I think America's screaming out for gun legislation. I really think they are. I think the ordinary American citizen is screaming out for gun legislation, not sort of banning guns, but a larger control over who can own them, how long you can have a license. I mean, it's like a car. I mean, how often do you go in and get your car checked? What do you call that? You go and get the brakes checked, you get the exhaust checked, you get the engine checked, all that. You get a service. You know what I mean? How many people actually go in and get tested after they passed and got their license to own a gun? How often do they have to go in and resit that test? And what kind of test is it? Because testing your car is that's went up. That's increased. It used to be, some countries you drive forward, you drive back, you reverse, you turn left, turn right, and it's like, bang, you got a license. You know what I mean? But now we're becoming a bit more sort of, interested in the kind of people who have driving cars, because a lot of them make fucking serious mistakes and fucking kill people when they're driving and crash. Why are we not doing that with guns? Why are we not saying, well, every 5 years you've got to come in and reset a test? Not just that, there's your gun, shoot a target and see if you can hit it, but let's test you on how often you clean your weapon, how safety conscious you are, where do you lock it up, do you lock the gun and the bolts up in different places in your hand, all that sort of. These are all things that should be considered when someone wants to be a gun owner. I'm just saying, you know. Most people who own a gun end up being victims of the gun they own. That's a very bad statistic. What if I didn't own a gun? A less likelihood of being shot? I'm not buying a gun, you know what I mean? That's the statistic, you know what I mean? The more people who actually own guns, the more likely they are to be you know, a victim of gun violence. I'm just saying, you know, let's think about it. Let's discuss this in a rational, normal manner. You know, and you don't have to wait until you've grown a beard as long as mine to make a decision. But we would like you to spend a little bit of time thinking about it. But yeah, I guess that's about it. Just wanted you fucking back.